Well, all right. We'll start all over again from 2025. Oh, by the way, I think I should kick TikTok's ass.
We're gonna kick your ass, Mason. Remember, John Anthony told you so. You don't want us to kick your ass, do you? I'm coming after you, Brian Chris. Louisville, Kentucky's gonna get baby. You
Just when all of us thought we've seen it all before in our lifetimes, none of us ever even dreamed that we would go on to see what we have seen as of lately. Now watch some of what we are talking about, and more right here on Spanning This Nation.
This show is for those of you who understand that fearlessness isn't a single action, but it's a lifestyle. So let's freaking go.
Yo! Saddle up! Lock and load! What the hell? Oh, a bed blower! A bed hair!
Intense enough to warp the very fabric of space and time.
This is Spanning This Nation.
It's been a while since Hollywood had a great year at the box office. Jay.
Yeah.
Hasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you remember, you've got a great memory, Jay, so I'm sure you do. Do you remember how after coping about how 2022 was going to be the recovery year, then 2023 was going to be the recovery year, then 2024 was going to be the recovery year for the box office in Hollywood, when we finally got back to kind of normalcy before the pandemic and all of these things? Well, then the mantra became survive till 25, right?
Yeah.
That's what it became, because people looked at the lineup, especially in the summer, like 3 Marvel movies coming out, fairly early in the year, Superman coming out, Jurassic World movie coming out, Mission Impossible, like all these things. And people said survive till 25 because that's when the box office is going to be back, baby. We promise. Well, summer didn't exactly work out that well. Domestic revenue barely matches last year. Why the summer 2025 box office was a major step in the wrong direction. And finally, when we got to the end of the year, you did get Zootopia, which was probably a bigger surprise than people thought. People thought it'd be $1 billion movie. Did people think it'd be a $1.5 billion one? Not so sure about that. And obviously Avatar, Fire and Ash. But turns out it's all about next year for the recovery year. Box office 2025 failed to meet even Hollywood's lowered expectations. According to year-end domestic ticket sales data reported by Variety, the 2025 box office closed at $8.87 billion, narrowly missing the already reduced $9 billion projection that analysts had framed as a realistic benchmark. While the industry's attempted to spin the result as progress, the numbers tell a far less flattering story. Before 2022, domestic box office totals routinely pushed $11 billion or more. Against that backdrop, 2025 doesn't represent recovery. It represents stagnation. So essentially, it was about 1% higher, 1.5% higher than last year, effectively exactly the same as last year, when this was supposed to be the big booming recovery. And what is that led by? It's led by, mostly in my opinion, the big failures in the summer. Captain America Brave New World was early, but then Thunderbolts came out in, what was that, May? Fantastic Four came out late summer. Superman, Jurassic World Rebirth. I'm sure you remember, Jay, we sat here, we had these discussions where people felt that all 3 of those movies were going to be billion-dollar movies. Where Superman, Fantastic Four, and Jurassic World were all going to push $1 billion, and which one was going to win was the question. And we said, well, Jurassic World's going to make more money than either of those things probably. But they didn't get anywhere close to that. Again, I don't know how long Hollywood's going to pretend to do the same thing year after year and pretend that next year's finally going to be the year that it makes a comeback. Now, there are a lot of big movies releasing that I think will perform better. I think Spider-Man will perform way better than any of these Marvel movies. Obviously Doomsday, kind of an unknown quantity, but I do think it'll make a lot of fucking money. But yeah, 2026. Now it's on to 2026. This will be the year we promise everyone, but it's kind of the same thing year after year.
Well, it's kind of funny that the December box office was probably the biggest month, right? With Zootopia and Avatar coming in, or Zootopia was in November, so it's like the winter box office was better than the summer box office. But so much has changed since then, because before it was like, well, it's COVID, it's the lockdowns, it's that fault. But now it's like with streaming services and the movie theater experience with bad films and films that they don't care about anymore. They're just not like, they're not. I think it's just a combination of things. And if Netflix, which looks like it will happen, purchases Warner Brothers, we could see another fall from box office numbers completely if they decide to really we're just going to release movies for a weekend and call it, So the landscape is going to completely change in the next few years as well. So I don't know what's going to happen. The $1 billion movie could turn back into one of a rarity, not because the movie's bad, simply because they might not leave it in the theater long enough for it to you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, it is a rarity even now. Like,
what do we have? 3 last year,
and 4 this year if you count Naza from China. But if you're talking about like Hollywood ones, yeah, and even though it's about the same money that's come in, another worrying factor is I think ticket sales overall were about 11% less because of the inflation, because of how much tickets are costing right now. So you can say we were stagnant from last year, but in reality, you lost 11% of your audience in terms of total ticket sales. That's a fucking problem. And in 2019, how many $1 billion movies were there? Was it like 9?
Yeah, it was a lot. I
think it was $9 billion movies, something like that.
And that's with lowered the ticket prices were cheaper and
your money cost more.
Well, let's see. The $1 billion films this year was that it was a sequel, that one that did $2 billion in China or Japan, wherever one it was. It was Zootopia 2, that was a sequel. It was the live action Lilo and Stitch, that's a remake, and another sequel, Avatar. So nothing, all but one animation, nothing really new grabbed the audience to go back and rewatch films over and over again. So, I do think like maybe we'll see the rise of these low budget films like a Five Nights at Freddy's, or even Sydney Sweeney's The Housemaid is actually doing pretty well, even though it's very low budget.
It's doing very well based on its budget, and
based on its budget. So,
and those things are great for the studios that are making them, right?
Yeah.
Those things are moneymakers for the studios. When you talk about the industry as a whole and theaters trying to stay in business, it doesn't really. For instance, if Avengers Doomsday cost $1 billion to make that movie, and it makes $2 billion in theaters, and Disney doesn't even break even on it, that doesn't matter for the studios because they made $2 billion in ticket sales that they split with the studios. Whereas something could be a financial winner for a studio like The Housemaid, but if that grosses $250 million, the profitability for the studio doesn't matter for the theater. So it is it's a mutual relationship, and more theaters are going to continue to close over the next year or two because they can't afford to stay in business, which is then going to make it even more difficult for them to make money.
Exactly.
Off the theaters. So.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It is a symbiotic relationship on which both sides are currently losing.
And speaking of The Housemaid, Lionsgate just announced via Deadline that they're green-lighting a sequel for 2026. So that's the thing. It was like a $30 million budget, roughly. It did $100 million. And now they're like, well, we can do another one. Same thing with like Five Nights at Freddy's. It was like very low budget, made enough. We can make a couple sequels. We're going to make a little money here and there. People will enjoy the film. It's not designed to do $1 billion, but it was designed to make money. So,
so we'll see. Maybe next year.
Maybe.
In 26, that'll be Hollywood's mantra. Over on Rumble, B. Barrett for $2. Ryan enjoys when hot, sticky goo slides down his throat. You're a weirdo, B. Barrett.
What?
Thank you for the super chat. I think he's talking about Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh.